thinking about how we get there and what happens along the way. And along the way, the process is so much more important than where we end up. How do you decide whether you've had fun? How do you measure that? Because we do what we measure. Now, we could think about these metrics in terms of numbers, but I think most of us are not quantitatively oriented. We're much more visually oriented. So I want to introduce one way we can measure fun, and that is by simply taking snapshots of things that are happening at the moment. It may not make sense to you when you see the images ahead of time, right? You may have to connect these images on the fly afterwards and interpret them afterwards, not having any idea what they mean just by looking at them. And this and saying, I don't know what's happening there. But that's part of the idea of saying yes to improvisation. Yes to the idea of learning as something that can never really be completely planned. So if I wanted you to take one thing away from this, it is that you have to be willing to walk into something without knowing whether A, your kids are going to love you afterwards for it, or whether they are going to absolutely hate what you've done. You have to not only be willing to fail faster, so this room here, no, but you have to not only be willing to fail faster, but fail absolutely. That is, be willing to understand that people may never show up. You have to be willing to do things that your funders may not love. You have to say, I realize that I'm working in a funding structure and that I have people looking at what I'm doing behind my back. But you have to, for example, say, I'm willing to move into spaces where I'm assuming a name and nothing that you do will actually hurt you in the long run. And you have to remember that no matter how hard we try to get people to come to us, it's us going to them and being willing to say yes to whatever they say to us. And so I think that this is way too long. I thought I had already concluded, but I also think that as long as we are willing to say yes, it means that we're opening up to listening to what people are saying to us in the first place. So rather than setting up a set of requirements and saying that there's this awesome excellence that we want to get to eventually, that there's some sort of hierarchy of the kinds of learning tools we want to have, and such is not here either, so I'll battle against the discipline, the idea that you have to bring people into this work and line them up and say, this is what I want you to do. You need to stand them up, and you need to have them